the power of Grayskull. Autobots, roll out.
Torpid time! Cool.
You have failed this city.
Winter is coming.
Star-Lord.
Finish him. Hadouken! Fatality.
And welcome to Free Your Geek. I am your host, Jay Free. In the studio to my left, we have my illustrious co-host, KB.
What's up, brother?
And we have returning one of our favorite guests. You know him as The Don. Welcome back, Don.
Thanks for having me.
And today's kind of a special show.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's not the wedding march, folks. So, I mean, this is a show where I'm gonna be a little bit more reserved and more of a
You started with episode 1. You
yeah.
suck.
Well, I'm just saying I'm gonna be stop. I don't have those sound effects yet, but no, I'm gonna be kind of like more of a just a what do you call it? A bystander. Yeah, bystander. You guys are gonna argue. So for those that don't know, there's a movie coming out very shortly. When's it coming out?
There's no movie coming out.
There's no movie. Then what are we doing here, folks?
Actually, a half hour from now,
Yeah,
first
yeah.
showing.
So the first showing is 30 minutes from now. It's Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yep.
And these two gentlemen to my left, big Star Wars nerds. So it's going to be pretty fun. For those that are listening, I want to just say that if you read the video, we are having a giveaway for all of the shows on 59 Media. Unique Customs, Phoenix Marketing, Pachico's Furniture, and 59 Media are pooling their money together for giving away a Christmas gift to one lucky person who shares this podcast. And what are they going to get? They're going to get an Xbox One
S.
Yes. All right. This is going to be our bit. We can only do this because the drawing is actually going to be next Monday on the Whatever Bro, next Tuesday rather, on the Whatever Bro podcast. So they'll be choosing the name there. So you have up until Tuesday to share this video, whether it's live now or in the future, up until Tuesday, where we're going to pick the name. So whoever shares this, your name's going to be put in a hat, and you can win an Xbox One
S.
Yes. I love it. Perfect. And again, thank you to Pachico's Furniture. Thank you to Unique Customs. Thank you to Phoenix Marketing. And thank you, 59 Media. So keep sharing that video. So let's get kind of right into it. We have a couple things. I, for one, not a huge Star Wars guy. I mean, I like the movies, but I was never, as you guys mentioned right at the top of the show, the first one I saw was Episode 1.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
His first impressions with Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought Jar Jar was supposed to be like what Star
Like,
Wars.
what's
was
this
all about.
kids movie all about?
Misa no likey.
And there you go. There you go. So what I want to talk about first is we'll talk about the entire realm of Star Wars movies, the entire world that it basically exists in. But I want to get from the two of you, from the super fans, if you will, I want to get an idea of what is Rogue One going to be about. Do you guys give me like a general plot, or do you have an idea, or are you just like, I'm going to go in totally blinded and just enjoy this, and it's Star Wars, so who cares?
Well, from what I've been reading up on, I guess it's basically is it Jyn Erso? Is that the character's name? Is the main character, right? And she's the daughter of a somebody from the rebellion, I guess. I believe, and then he gets captured or something, and then she's pulled in. She somehow ended up in prison. She's a bad apple, I guess, or whatever. And the rebellion,
So the rebellion,
busts her out
and so for those people
yeah.
that aren't familiar, and I'm again by no means an expert, the rebellion are the good guys.
Yep.
So that's the Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia side, if you will.
And then I guess the main thing I think on everybody's mind is the plans to the Death Star. I think that's the big thing because that's where Episode 4, New Hope, starts off. So I think that's kind of the, I think that's the big question on everybody's mind.
Okay. What are your thoughts and hopes, Don?
So, right, as soon as you get into New Hope, I mean, we know about these plans to the Death Star being taken.
Yep.
So, obviously we watched this and we don't really think we're gonna get a story on this, like, at all. It's just not something that you think you're gonna get. You know it was stolen. So now that Star Wars is, acquired by Disney and it's blowing up, we're actually gonna get, a lot more story, where things where they thought originally, we're just gonna mention this and maybe we'll get back to it. Now I feel like we'll get a lot more of this. There's deleted scenes in episode 3 that have like Padme sitting down talking to Senator Organa, and they're like, "Well, this is where the rebellion begins," and it kind of like leaves you like that little ominous feel, and it's I don't know.
So
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm also kind of thinking about the fact that, from what I understand, there's really no Jedis in this. So it's really just Vader, as far as anybody using the Force, from what I've understood so far.
Yes, but
There are Force sensitives.
Force sensitives,
yes, which is a little different.
I gotta throw the Star Wars Rebels into this, because the Star Wars Rebels animated series actually the two time periods coincide. So when we have all this stuff going on with Rogue One, we also have this stuff going on with Rebels. There are Jedis in the Star Wars Rebels series. I mean, they're not Jedi. Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know any of
Yeah.
this, so I'm just like, yeah.
So
They're not necessarily masters. of
No,
the Force.
exactly.
They're more
These
like
are-
sentinels.
yeah,
Yep.
these are people who left the Jedi Order, maybe after the Clone Wars,
Yep.
somewhere in that time period. Maybe there are even Jedi who feel that like the Jedi Order wasn't what they felt it should have been.
Yeah, in fact, some of when we do our countdown today, some of my characters are going to
Let's
touch on that.
let's kind of
So,
preview. Let's preview the
yeah.
countdown. I'm not going to be taking part in the final countdown. This is the first time in the 29 episodes that
Yeah.
I am not taking part in a countdown, and the reason is because these guys are going to be talking about specific Star Wars characters that have not been in the movies that you'd like to see in the movies. Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or,
Maybe
or
in the-
just could be in the
Or
movies.
could have their own movie.
have their own movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
or
exactly.
be part of the movie. So, okay, again, totally out of the Star Wars realm. Rogue One. So it essentially bridges episode 3 and episode 4. Is that what I'm understanding, or am I totally or
I don't think it bridges the whole thing, because from what I understand, it's going to be every other year. So it's going to
Yeah.
be you're
But
going to have
as far as timeline wise, it's taking
Timeline-wise,
place between the two movies?
timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: we all have access to the sequel. Everyone, if anyone ever needs it, we can get you a copy of episode 4.
I am by no means doing that, but the Don has resources that he can talk to. Make him an offer he cannot refuse. That was my bad Godfather joke for the Don. It's horrible. And why are we talking about the Godfather?
Yeah.
We're talking Rogue One here. So this is another thing from what I read, and I've read very little, but where it differs from, and I don't know what the official terminology is, but where it differs from episodes 1 through 6 is that it's not going to have the scrolling opening. That's what I heard. I don't think that's really a spoiler because it's not giving away plot points. But,
No.
But it's huge to the fans.
It is.
but I think from what I read is that because they're trying to keep the episodes, as part of the 3 trilogies or whatever that they're going to be doing, they want that to be one cohesive story where these other movies, for example, like Rogue One and the Han Solo flicks, they're going to be still in that world, but not necessarily tied to the stories.
So it's cool that you brought that up. I was actually talking to a friend of mine today about it not having the scrolling story in it. And to some people, you're like, hey, whatever, I'm still seeing a Star Wars movie. But I can't explain, like, the feeling that I got. Like, I brought my little brother and my nephew to go see, The Force Awakens, right? And just the sound, boom, like that. It brought something up in me. You know what I mean? Like you feel like the
That
tear.
intro.
You know?
The other thing is like episode 1. Now, we give episode 1 crap and all that, but when it came out, I remember going to see it in the theater. It was like the second night, and as soon as those credits rolled, because remember it'd been years since the Star Wars movie
Yes.
was out, and as soon as those credits rolled, it was so loud in the theater you couldn't hear anything.
And how about all the people
And then
dressed
they
up
came
for
out of
this?
the movie and they're like, ugh. But But no, yeah, and then the people dress up for these events too. It's almost like a mini con in itself with some of the cosplaying going on. So, yeah, it's
And
definitely a
then
big piece of it.
So, would I know any characters from? And this is kind of a softball question because I know the answer to that. But would I know any of the characters from either the original trilogy or episodes 1, 2, 3, or even The Force Awakens that are going to be? I don't think The Force Awakens would be because this is going to
That's
be
way
It's way
in the
after.
future.
Yeah, it's way in the future.
I'm trying to figure out the time. But any of those characters that I think are
Well, Vader's going to be in it. So,
Besides
Oh.
Vader.
yeah, besides
yeah,
Vader.
the guy ominously behind the Don.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see the only other human woman in the Star Wars galaxy in it.
Yeah.
We see her in the.
We're up to 3 now in total.
I know, that's it. Who else would you know?
So
There aren't many. It's a good cast of new characters.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. One of the other interesting things is Starkiller from Force Unleashed.
Yes.
Now, because there was a rumor going around,
that's a video game.
but there was a rumor that going around that in the beginning, one of the actors signed an autograph as Galen.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
So, but I looked it up online, and it's actually not the same character. So I was bummed. It was it's
Potential
actually,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, you could find it online. IMDb, it's cast. Just look at the cast. But basically, it looks like this guy actually plays Jyn Erso's father. Not
Okay.
Galen Upstart, which kind of crushes my hopes because I was hoping they would do something with that.
Tie
Maybe
that
not
in.
in this movie, but maybe in another movie. But from what I've heard from reviews and just people talking, that my wife's from Ecuador and all of her friends they got to see it the other day. It came out a couple days earlier, and they all loved it. So I'm pretty psyched. I can't
I
wait.
agree. And even the timeline with this, I mean, Starkiller should be fully grown.
Yeah, it
at
should be
this.
right about where he should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Epic game.
it would be interesting, and but we may talk about him more later.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that. So that's you guys are both obviously very psyched. Next week, I should kind of point out where we are doing this every other week type of thing with our podcast. Next week, I don't know if you can commit to that, but I know KB's going to. We're going to be in studio and we're going to have a review. I'm not going to see it because I want whoever's going to be here to sell it to me. I want you to show your passion, show how much you like this flick, and then so Don, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. You want to be here next week?
Yeah.
Okay, so Don and KB and potentially another guest will be either calling in or in studio, and they're all going to give their report on Rogue One: A Star Wars Story.
I bet that KB and I could sell this Star Wars movie to you the same way
Probably.
that you could sell Lord of the Rings to us.
Oh, really?
If we were not Lord of the Rings fans already.
Okay. Well,
Actually, no.
perhaps.
Let's use a better example as the way you could sell Lost to us.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's a better because that's his biggest.
That's
Yeah.
my
Oh,
my jam. Lost.
Gotta
is
love
amazing.
Lost.
so the way he could sell because
But,
how
look,
many times have you watched that? Like 3
I've
times.
the full series,
Yeah.
like all the way through. I've probably seen it through like 3 or 4 times. Like
So yeah,
full.
Oh, my
so he could
goodness.
sell us.
But I do want to say, in that kind of realm, even though I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, I have like we said at the top of the show. I unfortunately started with episode 1. I never, it was never introduced to me. I was the oldest child, so I never had anyone older than me, an older brother or an older cousin or anything that was like really into it to like get me into it.
Yeah.
So when I kind of, when I was a little bit older, and actually it was like 99 when episode 1 came out, something like that.
Yeah.
98, 99. It was before. It was like, so I was like, in high school at that point. So I said, okay, you know what? I have money. I have a job. I'm gonna go check this out. And I was kind of underwhelmed, which obviously now I looking back, I get why a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans were not.
But unfortunately for you, even the older ones are kind of underwhelming because if you didn't watch them at a young age,
Right.
you weren't as captivated by them.
Right,
as some of
exactly.
us are.
And
I
that's
agree.
exactly the point. But I still love the overall arcing, the characters, the archetypes, all those different, I don't know, like Luke Skywalker, like typical, like anyone can. It kind of reminds me, not to get too geeky, but like Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like this young guy you can kind of relate to as a young male. And he's an orphan. He's living with his aunt and uncle drinking blue milk, and it's just a story about him going on this adventure, which is really really cool. And he's becoming part of something that's bigger than himself, but he is almost like the chosen
doesn't
one.
understand it yet.
Right, and it's like a story of self-growth, which is really, really cool, in my opinion. But that kind of leads me into our next little piece. For you two guys, I mean,
you can even get into this conversation.
yeah, but I mean, to me, episode 1 would be the worst of the worst. What is your favorite of either the original trilogy, episodes 1 through 3, The Force Awakens, and then what is your least favorite? Because
it's really tough. I mean, for me, it's Empire's the best.
Empire's hands down the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Hands down.
general consensus.
It's I have to go with the general consensus on that
Yeah.
one because I mean that movie just that just blew away everything. The worst one is kind of a bit trickier. A lot of people go for 1 or 2, but
Not me.
I honestly Jedi. There's parts of Jedi that really didn't sell me, like the Ewok thing. Like it just didn't. It didn't sit well. There were parts of it that didn't sit well with me.
I will say that the Ewoks did bomb in Jedi, but the whole opening sequence on Tatooine,
Yeah.
like that was incredible.
Yeah. The Ewoks saved the
my
galaxy.
least favorite, and I'm even throwing episode 1 in the mix with this, A New Hope.
Really?
It is so
wow.
like
Yeah, that is
Luke's-
out of left
Luke
field. Left
Skywalker
field, whatever.
is just not who I wanted him to be. Like the whole thing with me with the New Hope that made me love it was Han Solo.
Yeah.
Like Han Solo was who you wanted to be, even though Luke Skywalker had the Force and he was learning and he had
Every
the
girl
lightsaber.
wanted him, and every man wanted to be him.
That's just Harrison Ford, I think. Like if it was somebody
But
else, I'd be like,
but that's the character, though. I mean,
yeah,
it's-
I agree.
that is the character. So again, every man, and it wasn't New Hope, but it was Empire, where, with the with the I love you and
I know.
and him just saying nothing.
She's like, I love you, and he's like, I know.
Okay,
he's just
see,
so
that was
cool.
the second time you did that was so better because out of context, if I just take that clip,
Just that right there.
we have Leia and Han right here,
Oh,
and
man.
that's hysterical. And for those people that are actually watching the video right now, feel free to comment. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? If we have any Star Wars fans watching right now, and if you're watching the video, I'm assuming you are.
J Bones, you know that Han Solo definitely had the swag.
Yeah, the swag.
So one of Don's boys is commenting,
yeah.
and we is that what we're going to refer to him as?
That's J Bones.
Okay, J Bones. Well, thank you, J Bones, for your input there. But
So
yes.
my worst one, I still has to be episode 1.
Yeah.
Because aside for like the Qui-Gon Darth Maul lightsaber battle, I really just most of that movie just didn't the not just the Gungan, like not just Jar Jar, the whole underwater Gungan thing, and like it was like they were trying too hard with the effects. Like Lucas was like, oh yeah, now I can do all this stuff I couldn't do before.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna overload this thing with a lot of effects, and the pod racing,
The pod racing was
yeah.
trash.
Yeah.
All the aliens watching that
Yeah.
or being the ones that were incorporating that, I feel were trash.
Yeah.
But I have a question. If we removed the Gorgons, like as like a race from that
Replaced them
movie,
with something else, maybe,
would
yeah.
you feel different about the movie, do you think?
No, I think even the other things, the part of Anakin, the actor is a little annoying, and then it just I love how Robot Chicken makes fun of it.
Robot
That's
Chicken
not-
does Star
the
Wars
specials.
great.
Yeah,
Family Guy does too.
But there's a Robot Chicken one where he's asking Padme a question when he first sees. He's like, "Are you a fairy? No. You an elephant? No." Like the kid is just so I don't know. Like, and then what's the guy's name that owns him? The slave is it?
Oh my god. Oh my
It's driving me
God.
crazy.
Oh, this is good.
But he
Is it Watto?
yeah, I
Is
think
it
so.
Watto?
Yeah. He just
Point
annoyed
for
me.
Don.
You know what I mean? He was just too. It was too much comedy thrown in there. Like it just didn't really flow for me. Episode 2. I know a lot of people. It's a love story and everything, but it's kind of a lot of stuff you needed.
Battle
And
of
there was-
Geonosis.
Yes, yeah, and the clones and all of that. Like it's so huge. Like you can't dismiss that. And Yoda getting involved more in Order 66 was episode 3. but just Yoda being involved more, and that was the first time we saw Mace Windu.
Mace Windu is a monster.
So yeah, so that episode 2, I have to put 1 as my worst.
I was going to ask too, just off the top of my head, from the episodes 1, 2, and 3, best Jedi: Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, or Qui-Gon.
You want to go first? Or I'm going to go first on this.
That's a tough one for me. Honestly, I like Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon had a swag where he didn't really care what the council thought, but he did it anyway and was still respected. You know what I mean? Like when he brought that boy, Yoda's like, "No, you can't train him," and Qui-Gon's like, "Well, I'll train him."
Yeah, he's like, I got that.
Okay, So to me, that Qui-Gon to me was probably the best one in that.
It's cool. Obi-Wan even said to him, he's like, if you follow the rules more, you could be on the council.
Yeah.
Like he was that rebellious.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, the guy whose wallet says bad MFer on it, Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Woo! He was awesome. Look, he could have taken out.
He's
my
a
God, the
master right
Emperor.
up there with Yoda. Yeah, he could
He
take
is.
out. He could take out Sidious. Yeah.
And I always say this. I mean, granted, the rest of the Star Wars universe wouldn't happen. I do this with a lot of movies. Oh, if they would have just done this, it would have been different. And if Mace Windu would have looked at Anakin and said, "Hey, Anakin, you and I, what we're going to do is we're going to go take out the Emperor together. If that's a Sith Lord, I trust you. We're going to go do this." Anakin's head would have exploded. It's like, oh my God, they trust me. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then, boom, he would have been dead. But no, he takes a handful of
That would have
normal
turned him
Jedis
back, yeah.
who names are anonymous, and go and try to fight the Emperor. Emperor takes him out. I don't know. It's a shame. I get fired up over this stuff. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. This is good. This is good. And J Bones is giving you props too. So
J Bones.
he said that Han Solo, he was wearing Old Spice, which I thought is a great comment. Fantastic comment.
Oh man,
That is good.
Yeah, I really liked Ewan McGregor's take on Obi-Wan. Again, just seeing him, like, and I'm again not a Star Wars guy. I mean, and then I see how he's kind of progressed into episodes 4, 5, and 6 as a character. Obviously, it's different actors, but
Episode 3, he was a beast.
Yeah, that's
He was a beast in
and that's
episode
of
3.
I keep wanting to say the original trilogy. The original trilogy is 4, 5, and 6. Of the original 3 that I saw, 1, 2, and 3. 3 obviously is the best out of those 3 because the other 2, in my opinion, are kind of trash. Other than some of the special effects and,
the
and
lightsaber
fighting,
battles in the
fighting,
first,
yeah, were pretty cool. But yeah, episode 1 would be my worst. So I think there's a consensus there, and I would go with
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens would
'cause
be.
you told me that when you
I
saw
think it's
it.
eclipsed because again,
That was a good movie.
I think
It was good.
it was kind of
really
like A New Hope, but with it's like if you combined A New Hope and then the special effects of today, you make it a little.
You got that fresh thing you were
flashy.
looking for.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's almost the same story, kind of, sort of. Obviously, I think there's a lot more lore with Han Solo and Luke and Leia and whatnot, but just seeing them return and seeing them like kind of like grizzled and weathered and
Yep.
and like almost like, if you want to say, like veteraned at this point,
and leaving you
like,
with questions still.
right, exactly.
Like, what happened
what
between
happened between that
them?
time frame? Yeah, and that to me
Yeah.
kind of sucked me back in and made me a fan again and made me want to check out the
So
original trilogy.
So maybe
again.
by the second or third Rogue One movie,
yeah.
you're going to start seeing them as younger selves, maybe, or middle age, or in between. You know what I mean? It's possible.
I agree with you on that. I think we'll get maybe a glimpse of Leia.
Yeah. Because you got to know where. I almost wonder if that's where they're going to put where, like, okay, this is where Rey and Kylo Ren came from at the end of these movies.
Yeah.
Almost like how they ended, with Episode 3. You know what I'm saying? Where, okay, this is where these kids came from. So I wonder if at the end of whatever last Rogue One movie they do, that they're going to say, this is where these kids came from.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. Think about it. Oh, unfortunately, we have to wait a long time for my prediction.
Well, we'll see. You heard it here first, though, folks. So, anything else before we jump into break and then come back with the countdown? Anything else you want to say about Rogue One? Thoughts, hopes, dreams, expectations, excitement level?
Super excited. I mean, I'm stoked, and I've heard so many good things about it. I know we had shared a tweet from Kevin Smith that he was pretty impressed with it and saying that Vader was
and I'm a
fantastic.
fan of Kevin Smith. I got on my my Snoogans beanie right now that I picked up
Snoogans.
from the secret stash in Red Bank, New Jersey. And yeah, he's a fan. Obviously, he's a little bit older than us, but yeah, if he grew up on those movies, he's a fan of those movies. And I usually agree with what he says. So he's really psyched about it. It's on our Facebook page. You can check that out. Anything else?
No, man. I'm just getting ready for that countdown.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to come back in about 5 minutes with our countdown. But again, to those that are watching this, share this video. Share it to your time stream. Share it once the show is completed. Anyone who shares this video or this podcast will be entered to win an Xbox One.
S.
Oh, you guys.
Oh man.
All right, let's take that. Anyone that shares this video will be entered to win an Xbox One.
S.
Thank you. Courtesy of Phoenix Marketing, Unique Customs, Pachico's Furniture, and 59 Media. They're all pooling their money together, and they're going to pick up an Xbox One,
S.
and they're going to be giving it away to one lucky winner, whoever shares this podcast, this video, or any of the other podcasts on 59 Media. So share away and be entered to win an Xbox One.
S.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Are you ready to upgrade your office space or living area for an affordable price? Stop by Pachico's Furniture, where you can expect a delightful shopping experience, all while saving you some of your hard-earned money. Pachico's Furniture specializes in used furniture, antiques, jewelry, electronics, video games, Blu-ray, DVD, musical instruments, and much, much more. Whether buying or selling, we strive on being Fall River's finest secondhand store. Pachico's Furniture is a family-owned and operated business located on 663 Bedford Street, formerly Billy's Cafe, in Fall River, Massachusetts. Come on by, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
The Force will be with you.
And welcome back to Free Your Geek. I am your host, Jay Free. Again, for those just joining us, to my left, we have my co-host, KB.
Awesome to be back.
Thank you. And the Don.
Smell what the Don's cooking.
Yeah, that's a rock reference. So, dude, your level of geekiness is kind of like you have your hands in all the different like genres, and I love that, which is fantastic. That's why we love having you on the show.
Love being here.
Well, that we love having you. So I don't know who say you love being here again.
I love being here again.
I know. Another Star Wars reference. All right, so ladies and
Got
gentlemen,
him.
we're gonna get into my favorite part of the show, which I'm not even taking part of this week. But we call this little piece of our show. We call it the final countdown.
It's the final countdown. The final countdown. Yeah. Whoa.
The final countdown. This is where we rank our top 5, our top 10, our top 3, either characters, TV shows, comic books, series, movies. But today, in honor of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, the Don and KB are going to be ranking the top 4 What are you going to be ranking, gentlemen?
Our top 4 Star Wars characters that have not appeared in the movies.
So these can be from
wanna see the
any
movies.
other
Yep.
any other medium, whether it be print, whether it be video games, whether it be maybe are we including
TV
cartoons?
shows, cartoons,
Everything.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And before we do that, I said video games before. What I want to talk about Rogue One, it kind of reminds me of, for those people that are gamers, almost like if you're buying a series of games, it's almost like a DLC to me in like a certain point, where it's like an
Side story.
It's a side story that doesn't necessarily tie into the main story, but has little pieces of
Familiarities.
things that happen. Yeah, so I think I'm very excited for you guys to come back on next week and review it. But let's get right into the countdown. So who wants it? This is, since I don't do it this week.
The guest go first.
The guest
you know
goes
that.
first. So,
Yeah.
but who's the guest? Because Don's a regular now.
He's still the guest. For
Oh
now.
yeah.
All right, so we'll let
KB's
Don go first, and KB will
Yeah.
come in the back. So starting with number 4.
Before I jump into number
Oh,
4.
okay. Oh, so-
Okay.
Look,
No,
look,
no, no,
He's
I'm not-
already
Give some
okay.
you can give some rationale behind
No,
your
no, no,
list.
no.
What's up?
It's cool that you said about the DLC, how that's what Rogue One is. Well, I have the DLC Rogue One for my PlayStation VR, and it is insane. So insane to the point that I could keep my VR on for 3 minutes, and I got beyond motion sickness. It was bad. Like,
That's awesome.
you really, I'm sitting still as though I am right now, and I felt like I was flying a spaceship. Like shooting at
That's crazy.
meteors, going against TIE fighters. It was nuts, nuts, nuts. And that was my rant. Okay, my number 4. I guarantee each of us, not so much Star Wars fan. I guarantee that KB and I have been all over this game.
Okay.
Okay, this is from our not so much childhood. This is our
Teenage years,
growing up,
yeah.
teenage years. Okay, Systems N64. Game is Shadows of the Empire.
Ah.
My pick is Dash Rendar.
Ooh.
All right, so
Sell me on him, dude. Sell me on him.
I'm gonna sell you on this guy. Okay, so imagine all the coolness of Han Solo.
Okay.
You know, this guy's also a smuggler who started off. He was like in the Imperial Navy, came from like a rich family and everything. Some shady deals went down. His older brother gets killed. The Empire feels like that these people were maybe some sort of threat. Boom, they axe, the family out of. Can't think of what to call it right now. I don't want to call it like the inner circle, but they end up sending like most of his family to the Outer Rim. They kick Dash Rendar out of the Imperial Navy, and he kind of lives like a Han Solo type life. Now, you wonder how this ties in. I gotta explain. Shadows of the Empire. The reason this game got me right off the rip is this game takes place during Empire Strikes Back. So we have all of this stuff going on. Like the game picks up at the Battle of Hoth. You know what I mean? Like we see Dash Rendar running around Hoth, destroying stormtroopers and everything. What he would do is he would do like supply runs for the Rebel Alliance. This time he happened to be there at the wrong time. The Empire attacks. He ends up actually helping the Millennium Falcon get away. We don't see it in the movie, but he holds off stormtroopers and kind of keeps Vader at bay just long enough for the Millennium Falcon to take off. He takes off. Okay, our next key point with this guy is boom, 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 boom. Han Solo gets put into carbonite, gets taken away. So he doesn't instantaneously boom end up back in on Tatooine in the custody of Jabba the Hutt. Boba Fett's going from planet to planet to get back to Tatooine. So Lando Calrissian hires Dash Rendar to track down Han Solo. He does find Han Solo and tries to rescue him, but plans don't go perfectly. And obviously we know from watching the movie that that Han Solo ends up making it back. So the next key character who he ends up interacting with is Princess Leia. Princess Leia hires him to keep an eye on a young Jedi, Luke Skywalker, who's in training. And he's behind the scenes stopping assassins and crazy stuff like that. Like, this guy is a key player in Star Wars that nobody's ever heard of, unless you play the game.
That's crazy. That's cool. I like that.
Are you sold?
I am sold. You got me. You got me. You got me.
That's it.
So that's a great number 4.
So that's your number 4.
I will say this though, real quick. Joseph Maynard, I will get to your comment at the end of the show. We will talk about that. So, KB, what is your number 4?
All my characters, just throwing it out there, because I'm a huge video game guy and we don't get to talk video games, are all video game based.
That's
Because
awesome.
I just
I try to stay
don't get
away, but-
yeah. My number 4 character is a droid. So I'm going to do
Nice.
some quotes here. So one of his quotes: suggestion. Perhaps we can dismember the organic. It would make it easier to transport it to the surface. Damn it, Master. I'm an assassin droid, not a dictionary. You are a very harsh master, but Master, I like you.
Can I guess the game?
Yeah.
Are we on Knights of the Old Republic
Yeah.
right now? All right, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is Hunter Killer 47 or HK 47, the
Yep.
assassin droid. So we always see droids as these positive, comical. We always see the droids on the good guy side.
Yeah.
We never see a dark side droid. This is a dark side droid created by a Sith Lord, Darth Revan, who is the main character of Knights of the Old Republic video game. And for those who don't know, this was on Xbox, the original Xbox,
Oh, yeah.
and PC. But you can also now get it on your smartphone. It's on Android for like $3.
Yeah.
So if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out. So this droid was programmed to hate all living things, and he suggests killing them. That's like his solution to everything.
Yeah.
I suggest killing this. I suggest killing that. And he has the term meatbag programmed into him. So humans are always referred to as meatbags. And Revan just put that in because he found it humorous.
Yeah.
And it annoyed his apprentice at the time, Darth Malik. So again, just a droid that just a good battle droid that you could take in, that he could take in a battle that had personality. And just like I said, you just never see that. So I think that's the only time, I can't think of another time that we've seen an evil droid.
No, even in the Clone Wars, like the droid that worked specifically for Count Dooku
Yeah.
was very monotone. What would you like me to do?
Yeah.
Would you like me to attack? Like,
Yeah.
there was never
There's
anything
nothing-
cool like that.
Yeah. So that's my number 4.
Yeah, I definitely used him in my party from time to time,
Yep.
but I would always struggle. Do I want to be a Jedi?
Yeah.
Do I want to be a Sith?
Yeah.
And like he literally, you were right. Like he just wanted to like destroy
Everything. Yep. That was his answer to everything. So
So moving on to number 3. Don, what is your number 3 pick?
Okay. I have to switch around because I have a feeling that you and I are gonna come together
Maybe,
on one of
maybe,
our
maybe.
picks. So then, what I'm gonna end up doing right now is I'm gonna say Ahsoka. Ahsoka is
love Ahsoka.
awesome. I'm glad that
Yeah.
she is really really cool. So
Yeah.
Ahsoka is from Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is Anakin Skywalker's apprentice,
Which
his
we never get
Padawan
to see anywhere else. Like it's
And very
Yeah.
true. We don't get
Yeah.
to see her anywhere else. See, all right. I'll get to where
Yeah.
she ties in now. So another Jedi Master, Plo Koon.
Yep. Love Plo
ends
Koon.
up bringing her in to the council, and Yoda appoints her to Anakin because
Mm-hmm.
Yoda sees something that maybe Anakin's lacking, and maybe something that she's lacking that they could bring out of each other. She's very reckless, which obviously we know from seeing Anakin in the movies is also very reckless. You know,
but she's reckless in a good way.
she is.
That's
She's
the difference.
she is.
Yeah.
And what Anakin like sees and gets from her is like it's funny because he tries to be like a father figure to
Yep.
her almost. Like, oh, you can't act like that. You have to, do things by the book and da da da. Unless
Which
it's
is like-
yeah.
Not him. So it's yeah.
It's funny. So Ahsoka ends up, getting very close with Rex, which I'm wondering if we're ever in Rogue One. Sorry, I'm like
No, it's
throwing this
good.
around, but Rex, Commander Rex, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Commander
yeah,
Rex and
yep.
Cody. She was very close with Rex.
Yes.
And Rex was not part of Order 66.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we're gonna get a little glimpse of him in Rogue One. Maybe we'll see like
Yeah.
an older man version of him.
A beaten war veteran kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
So she ends up disobeying some orders, gets her whole squad killed, but still manages to.
For those of you who don't know, she's not human, by the way.
Yeah, no, she's a very
Was it
like
Twi'lek.
yeah,
Twi'lek?
she's a very cool looking alien.
Yeah.
I think there's like another one like Sha'ak-Ti
Yep.
or something.
Yep.
So they seem to be the same race, but I don't want to like bury everybody with super like crazy amounts of information, but Ahsoka gets accused of doing something, and like actually the Jedi Order send like a squad to go after her and arrest her. She takes off. She teams up with my girl Ventress, who I absolutely love, but I can't tie her into the list.
Yeah.
So they team up, and they end up finding out who committed this crime, which was actually like a childhood friend of hers who's also a Padawan learner. So Anakin ends up clearing her name, and the Jedi say, "We want to take you back. We want you to be back in the Jedi Order." And she turns her back on them. She's like, "No, I don't really feel like the Jedi are all that they're supposed to be." Excuse me. So she ends up leaving, never really to be heard from again until Star Wars Rebels, where she goes under the codename Fulcrum. She actually does have an encounter with Darth Vader. She pieces him up like an awesome fight. Like we see Darth Vader like very slow and clunky. She learned from him, you know? She beats him up, breaks his mask, and she sees a little bit of Anakin's face. And he's like, Snips, which is her
nickname.
her
I was about
nickname.
to say that. That's her nickname.
So he's like, Snips. And the Anakin part is trying to tell her to get away, and she's like, I won't leave you again. And then they get sealed in this thing, and I don't know what happened. But
nobody knows what
we
happens.
really don't know what happens.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to. I love
crazy.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's a great pick. So
That is a great number 3.
so that's your number 3.
Thank you, yes.
My number 3, again, going back to the video games, very common one, and probably might be on your list too, is Galen Merrick, Starkiller.
Whew.
Starkiller, for those of you who don't know, is in a game called The Force Unleashed.
I did play this game.
Yeah.
Game's
Aha.
great.
So Jay Free knows the storyline of this game.
Yeah.
Did you beat it?
It's been
Did
a
you
while.
beat it?
It's been a long time.
But
yeah.
how cool is it for Darth Vader to have a secret apprentice?
Especially with the rule of two.
Phenomenal. Yeah. The rule of two, especially the phenomenal powers that they have in this game. And you want to see this stuff in the movie because the powers in the game are just so over the top.
Yeah.
You're just like, you want to see this in movie form. But basically, so what happens is Darth Vader's, they're filling out Order 66, hunting down Jedis.
Yeah.
He finds this child, kills the father, and takes the child, and basically raises the child to be his apprentice. But basically, so Vader says, well, this is my secret apprentice, and you're going to hunt down these other Jedis that are out there. And eventually Sidious discovers that he has this apprentice,
Yeah.
which causes some craziness. And Vader then basically attacks Starkiller just to prove his loyalty to the Emperor, but attacked him but didn't kill him, like made it look like he was killed.
Yeah.
You know? But then, so with this happening, and this is where it gets interesting, is because we're talking about Rogue One, creation of the rebellion. Darth Vader orders Starkiller to create the rebellion,
Yeah.
and this is where it gets really crazy. So Starkiller is now out creating a rebellion for him and Vader to lead to take down the Empire, which is really just backwards from what we were believed to think at that time when this game came out. You know, we always thought it was just, from some other source. We didn't think it would come from Vader himself creating the Empire, the rebellion. So basically, he gets betrayed by Vader once again after starting to get this rebellion going. He confronts basically Vader and Sidious at the incomplete Death Star,
Yep.
and he dies. Right. Eventually, he defeats Vader, but he doesn't kill Vader. But he defeats Vader, and Sidious, him and Sidious fight, and he dies. The emblem, his family emblem, ends up becoming the emblem that we see as we know as the Rebellion emblem.
Yeah.
So
what I
that's
have
an interesting thing. So the Rebellion emblem, are we going to see where that comes from in Rogue One? Because
That's a great point.
Where does that emblem come from? I want that question answered because we've seen it here, and this is what I was hoping for. I was hoping we would see this story come alive
Ooh,
at
that's
some
good.
point.
That's good.
So maybe in the next Rogue One movie, it's going to be something like this. I don't know. But the other things is, like I said, the powers over the top, like throwing people and
TIE fighters.
But the TIE fighters, taking TIE fighters and crunching them into a ball, like just unbelievable. But the biggest thing, and it was rumored that Luke Skywalker is going to do this in the next episode, episode 8.
Yeah.
Take down a Star Destroyer with the Force. Whew. you imagine that scene on screen?
That would be
Like just taking
the
down
special
an entire
effects,
Star
the sound,
Destroyer.
and that's the thing. Like, that's to me why I'm loving the episode. You know, the new episodes here, the Force Awakens, because in the theater now with like the sound and the special effects, like you
Yeah.
get so immersed in that world, and it's like you feel it. You know what I mean? You feel the sound. You feel like. You feel it
And
in
the
your
3D
bones.
works in Star Wars movies.
Yeah, and the 3D, I like.
does
I'm
add-
not a big fan of all the 3D like films.
Yeah.
I like for superhero flicks, for Star Wars. I'll definitely check
Yep.
that out in 3D because I think it's worthwhile in that
Yeah.
respect. But yeah, I absolutely that would be an amazing scene. I can't wait to
Yep.
for that next episode.
So, and then like one of his quotes is, "I am my master's weapon. I lay waste to all that stands in his path."
Yes.
Like that's a great quote. You know.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
He really was. He was very, very cool.
Yep. So Star Killer, Galen Merrick, my number 3.
So can I ask him
oh,
questions?
good.
go
This is what it's
All right.
all about, man. It's about that discussion.
Were both of his parents both mother and father Jedi?
I don't know. I know the father was.
I know the father was for sure, but I feel like
I
maybe
feel like
the
his mother was too.
because he was obscenely
powerful.
powerful.
Yeah, his power was beyond.
And you actually reminded me about how he
The
excuse me.
throwing of the lightsaber. Like that was another thing. Like throwing a lightsaber and like a boomerang.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I would love to see happen in the movies. You know.
I know we haven't seen that.
Like-
we haven't seen that at all. Actually.
Yeah, big deal. I can grab my lightsaber from far away, but what else can I do with it? Let's
Yeah.
get a little more creative, Disney, with the lightsabers.
on.
Come on.
The fact that Vader wanted him to, start the rebellion and everything like you were talking about. We've actually heard Vader way back when he was Anakin. If I wanted, I could destroy the Emperor and this would be Mayan.
Yes.
And then we hear it later on, like with Luke, like, join me and together we can, rule the galaxy as father and son. Like, Vader, like, must really have some hatred towards Emperor Palpatine, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
He's looking over there like, now you're getting it. Now you're
Yeah.
getting it. But,
I think that just shows how his arrogance, though, is his
Yeah.
undoing, and
excellent point.
But yeah, so that's definitely my number 3. I would love
So-
to see some of that stuff.
Moving on to number 2, Don, your number 2 pick.
Nombre dos. So for me, who do I want to go with now? See, I have to say, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
That game, I became so obsessed with that game, and
I think I beat it like 3 times. The first one,
I definitely went through twice.
and the second one I went through twice.
Because the first time it was like, I'm going to be a Jedi, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going through the game like this, and that's it.
Yep.
Like, plain and simple. And then the second time, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this the dark side. And then I keep pulling myself back. Like, yeah, I don't really feel okay with
never feel
slaughtering
all right
these
going to
people.
the dark side,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the whole story with Revan,
Yep.
like, I didn't know that's who I was until obviously
until you
beat
get
the
to that point, and
Like,
you're like,
your mind gets
shit, that's who
blown.
I am.
But so as far as what I know about him is he was a very powerful Jedi.
Sith Lord. He's Jedi
Well,
and Sith Lord,
started
yeah.
off as a Jedi, and he skewed off because the quest for power. Like obviously, well, at least we know that a Jedi should never crave more. They should always be content, And as with anybody who's gone Sith, which there are not many that have left the Jedi,
There's a
and-
few, but not many. Yeah.
I want to say, like, off the
There's a
top of my
handful.
head, like, I can think of, like, 6 that I know,
Yeah, there's about a handful.
but I think there's, like, 20-something, like,
Yeah, there's probably more, but
throughout the expanded universe. So, can I just, like, explain it through, like, the game point of view?
You can do it.
who is Revan the pick?
It's Revan.
So Revan's your number 2 pick. Okay.
So, like, you wake up on the spaceship, and you have, like, no memory, And throughout this game, you're starting to get bits and pieces. Like I want to say that the rebels like scooped him up quick.
I'm gonna get into this a lot more. So
all right. This is awesome.
Yep.
Like I feel like we can bounce back and forth
Yep.
off this. Then I don't want to give too much away, but like the way I played it, like this game, you get to go from planet to planet, and you continue to learn and discover about who
your
you
past,
are.
you're
Yeah.
piecing together your past, and it all comes to a head at some point.
And it's crazy. Like the things that I've read about him is he was amazing with the lightsaber.
Yep.
Like his force powers, like would be like maybe like top 8
Yep.
of Force wielders. You know, like this guy is like really, really cool, and the fact that he could use both light and dark sides of the Force.
And it seems like in the Old Republic that was a lot more common.
Yeah, like the term gray Jedi. Like
Yeah.
he seems to be, for me at least, he was the first, like even though I was playing a video game, he was the first encounter for me with the gray Jedi.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's like your number
No,
one. or
no,
if we can...
no. He's not one of my picks, but I'm still going to touch base on him. So.
All right, well, let's jump in on
Okay.
this.
All right. So that's your number 2. My number 2 is the person who was along his side the whole time, Bastila Shan. Bastila Shan. So Bastila Shan, what's interesting about Bastila Shan, before I even get into the story of Bastila Shan, is that here's a Jedi that has a very unique ability, battle meditation.
Yeah.
Battle meditation, you'd probably dig this. It's basically, she gets into a meditative state, and she can increase the morale of entire armies and decrease the willpower of her enemies.
That is pretty cool.
Yes.
Like you're fighting a war, that's a great
Yeah.
skill to
Yes.
have.
So she's a very valuable Jedi. She's not hot-headed. She's the typical young Jedi fighting with arrogance and frustration with the Council. So basically, she is now. Don was just talking about Revan. Her job was to kind of follow Revan along to make sure. The story behind Revan is Revan's mind was wiped by the Jedi Council. Malik, Revan's apprentice, betrays him,
Yes.
and he gets hurt. And the Jedi Council at that time finds him. They wipe his mind and start him anew. Bastila is his shadow to keep him on the light side.
Yes.
Bastila is doing this to prove to the Jedi Council, because she's only a Sentinel at the time, that she can be a master and on the Council.
Yes. Good. See,
So this is really interesting. So her power, the whole battle meditation thing is just it's insane. You know, so obviously the dark side wants that power. You know, they want somebody who can do that. So basically, her mission with Revan was an audition, and she treats a lot of people, if you remember from the game, like her subordinates, like her.
like her pieces almost.
You could see
you can.
because we hear about people who are dissatisfied with the Jedi, and she's a good example of you can see why people are dissatisfied, because there's an arrogance that comes with it. It's
Yeah.
not fear, because fear is what drives you to the dark side. It's an arrogance that a lot of them have sometimes, that their shit don't stink, kind of thing. So that's what I think a lot of people get frustrated with in that universe of the Jedis are bad, and that's why they get a bad rap. But eventually, throughout the story, when you get to the end of, as Don was explaining, you go through the game, you go all these planets, you get to the end. She's captured by Dark Malik, and he actually turns her to the dark side. And Revan and her fight, and depending on what you did with Revan, if you made Revan a Jedi or Revan a Sith, she went whatever way Revan went. So, and then in books, her and I guess there was an Old Republic novel.
Yeah.
And her and Revan marry and have a child in the novel, which I can't even imagine the power of that child. So, just a fantastic character. I remember in the game they're showing her doing the battle meditation in the end.
Yeah.
When the fight's going on, and the influence that that's having on the battle, and when Revan defeats her, the battle shifts the other way because she's not in that state anymore.
Yeah.
So just fantastic character, and that's a character. I mean, imagine that as a plot point in a movie. Or a part of the movie, this battle meditation. Like,
Yeah, you just see the Jedi set up, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden everyone rallies.
Yep.
It's really fired up.
Yeah. So that's my number 2.
Before we get into the number 1, I'm going to do it one more time because I know I just shared it to my page because I forgot to share it to my page. But people that are watching this, again, we are having, and I want to finish strong with this one, so I'm going to prep you guys here. Phoenix Marketing, Unique Customs, Pachico's Furniture, and 59 Media are all pooling their money together. And for anyone that shares this video or any other podcast under the 59 Media umbrella will be entered to win an Xbox One
S.
Yes. And again, the drawing will be held this upcoming Tuesday on the Whatever Bro podcast. So share this video, share the podcast, share any of the videos under the 59 Media umbrella, and be entered to win an Xbox One
S.
Thank you. Okay, on to number 1. Don, out of all the different characters in the Star Wars universe, who is the one character you want to see on the big screen, on film?
I didn't think that's what this was. For number one?
For number for or any.
I thought I was just giving you like favorites.
Oh,
Like,
for favorites,
no,
or
no,
no,
but-
go with
but
your
our-
favorite. Who
yeah.
is your favorite? I'm just
We would
spitballing
consider
here.
that somebody
Oh.
you want to see on the big
Yeah,
screen.
somebody
anyway,
you want to
so-
see.
all right, well, I mean, all right. So I you threw me off with that one.
no, no,
So,
okay,
so,
go with your
no, no,
original
no, it's
pick, my
okay.
man.
So my number one is Darth Bane. Now, Darth Bane create like you always hear about the rule of two.
Yep.
There can only be one master and one apprentice for the Sith to continue to go on. Now, I can't act like I read crazy Star Wars literature. I read about these guys, you know, and they seem pretty interesting. But what made me dig a little deeper into Darth Bane is towards the end of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Okay, we have our man Yoda right here. Yoda goes on a mission by himself. He actually goes with R2, but I mean, it's R2, and he makes him stay with the ship. So he goes to the Sith home planet to go find out this secret ancient technique. Or this, obviously it's a secret ancient technique, but that Jedis don't use, that the Sith use. Now, we all know that Yoda is like the definition of the pure Jedi. So for him to go and learn this technique, he has to go to their home planet, and he's actually faced with Darth Bane. And they have this conversation, and Darth Bane's like, you know, I will never die. Do you know why I'll never die? And Yoda's like, because you came up with the rule of two. Like, Yoda is just so calm and cool, and he's just like, yeah, you came up with the rule of two. And him and Yoda, like, kind of like exchange words. Darth Bane's getting fired up and angry, and he's telling him, like, I could destroy you right now. And Yoda,
You're seeing that clear difference between the two sides. there.
yeah, Yoda is just so calm and collect, and he's like, you can't hurt me. You don't exist. But I need to find out this this little secret thing that you guys do. And this secret thing that they do is that, not that they don't die, that they become one with the Force, where we get to see Obi-Wan come back first in Empire Strikes Back as that ghost form and talk to Luke. Then later,
This is interesting now that you're mentioning this.
you know what I'm saying? So later, like, this technique came from the Sith, but used in a pure way by the Jedi.
End
That's
of episode 3. End of episode 3. He says, Obi-Wan, I have some training for you. Your old master. You need to speak to your old master. And he's like, Qui-Gon. Well, that's what he's teaching.
That's exactly what he's
Yeah.
teaching.
So you wouldn't get that from anywhere else.
You would not. You seriously wouldn't pick that up. But Yoda's the first Jedi to learn
Understand
that
that.
technique, and then he
Yes.
passes it along. But think of how big that technique is, just for the rest of the Star Wars universe.
From that
okay?
point forward, yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. Luke doesn't know to go to Dagobah. Luke never meets Yoda. He's just that, you know, regular Jedi, and then he's gonna try to be self-taught. There's no chance for him to stand up against Vader without Yoda's training. You know, so by that meeting with Darth Bane and learning that technique right there, it sets up the rest of the stuff. That's why he's one of. I don't want you to think that he was my number one. I kind of switched it up.
He's one of your favorites.
He is one of my favorites, and it would be cool to see him on screen because he looked evil as all hell.
That's awesome. You can if somebody, and I don't want to say it this way, but Kylo Ren, as far as a villain, didn't really do it for me.
No.
So I'm saying compared to like Darth Vader, where you have this like ominous. So to see somebody even like pretty sadistical as you know a Sith Lord like that, I think would be sick. It's a huge protagonist for our heroes to fight.
My number one's going to
Or
go so over the
antagonist.
top.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
Okay. So that's your number one, right? So
Yes, that's number one for
Bane.
me.
All right, I'm going to start with a quote. So listen to this. So, what do you wish to hear? That I once believed in the code of the Jedi? That I felt the call of the Sith? That perhaps once I held the galaxy by its throat? That for every good work that I did, I brought equal harm upon the galaxy? That perhaps was the greatest of the Sith Lords knew of evil they learned from me? Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Darth Treya.
Treya.
Kreia.
Wow. That came out of left field right there.
Yeah. You think about Darth Treya. Here's somebody that thinks the galaxy's a better place without the Force. Wants to destroy the Force itself. Has no uses the Force.
Yeah.
But is so disturbed by all the good and bad things that have happened to her that is tired and wants to eliminate the Force. Because remember, we talked about back then a lot of Force sensitives.
Tons.
And Force sensitives, her feeling was that Force sensitives in the Force cause more trouble than it's worth. It's kind of like the Avengers saying, well, the heroes are more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That thing is more trouble than it's worth. So she was a Sith Lord who was once a Jedi Master and historian, exiled by the Jedi because a lot of her students, she let them go to follow Darth Revan.
Yeah.
Okay, in the Mandalorian Wars. She basically, after left the Jedi, followed in his footsteps and became a Sith Lord and had 2 apprentices, Darth Sion and Darth Nilthus. I can never say the name of it. Nilthus.
Sounds right to me.
But anyway, so she got betrayed by the Jedi when they kind of threw her out, and then she was also outcasted by her apprentices who stripped her of the Force. She learns the Force, and basically is now hell-bent on basically destroying the Force for everybody. Talk about power. You're talking about somebody who could basically could wield 3 lightsabers with telekinesis
Yeah.
and command them at will. You know, we're talking about somebody who can see shatter points in the Force. That's how she found her apprentices from just light years away. Can sense in the Force weak people. That's how she found her apprentices. You know, she could feel that fear in those Sion and Nithlis that made them her apprentices. Could speak telepathically from light years away.
That's her clarity in the
Yes.
Force. That's what it is.
Yes, she has that ultimate clarity. She's been on both sides of the Force. She knows it inside and out. She's seen it all, and she wants to destroy it. So that's a character to me that's just so intriguing. In the game, Knights of the Republic 2, she's this old woman. She comes up as this old frail woman who you have no idea what her role is.
Yeah.
She's very wise. She's Kreia. She goes by Kreia. Her eyes, she can't see. Her eyes were blasted, and she's like, I could heal my eyes, but I don't want to because it makes me more aware of the Force.
Yes.
So even though she had the ability, she didn't. So she is just an all around, badass. Like just that quote. All Sith Lords learn their evil from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, she's definitely my number one, and I would love to see a story arc around that. And that's a character a lot of people forget. So.
You had me on that one.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
So that was a great final countdown. It's just weird not to be involved in one.
Yeah, but how did it look for you from the outside looking in?
I learned a lot about these characters from games and literature.
You get to learn there's a lot of great stories in this universe that you just hope that they take advantage of on the big screen someday.
Well, it's one of those things, kind of like Tolkien and Lucas has his own universe, and there's, I mean,
so
it's
big
not
and vast.
as I think large as the Lord of the Rings universe, as Middle Earth, but I think with different species and different races, there's a lot you can do with that
There's
mythos.
a galaxy out there.
That's true too.
This is not Middle Earth. This is a galaxy.
Listen, but there's still only one ring to rule them all.
That ring will get cut by a lightsaber. We'll
I don't know
cut it
about
down
that.
quick.
I don't know about that. But any other final comments before we start wrapping up? Countdowns, thoughts, any feelings Star Wars related?
Just psyched for this week.
I'm
I can't wait for
pumped.
next week to come back and talk about
So
the,
next week, what
the
time do
review.
you guys want to go? I want to kind of schedule this a little bit. Do we want to start at 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock?
This is your rodeo.
Yeah, 6:30 is fine.
6:30. So 6:30 next week. These two gentlemen will be here giving their review of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. But there was a comment earlier, and I said we'd get back to it. Joseph mentioned the Assassin's Creed movie that's coming out. I absolutely want to see that, and we'll
Yeah,
be
me too.
reviewing that. We'll be talking about that because Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite video games.
That movie looks fantastic,
And
by the way.
you're a fan?
Magneto looks like a monster.
Yeah. See, Magneto. It's funny because you know who else is a good Magneto? Gandalf the Grey.
Womp, womp.
But yeah, we will be seeing that movie. We will be watching that. We'll be reviewing it. We'll do a piece on it at some point over the winter. But before we get out of here, we're going to throw up the bat signal. So we'll start with our guest first. Don, anything you want to promote, talk about, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any other social media, something you're doing, a project, anything along those lines?
It's cold outside, guys. It's time to come into Tap House, get some hot food, good drinks, nice atmosphere, a lot of good service. We serve excellent food. You guys to come down. Weekends, we get live entertainment. It's good stuff. You're definitely going to come by Tap House.
Dude knows people at the Tap House. Go and say Don sent you.
Say the Don sent you
The Don
and tell
sent
him
you.
you want to smell what the Don's cooking.
There you go. And it's something delicious.
Oh, yeah.
All right, KB, let's go. Let's do our
Awesome
stuff.
covers of the week this week. Marvel
Yeah,
had some
on
good
our
stuff.
Facebook page,
NDC.
For Your Geek on Facebook. Follow us, join us. KB does Marvel covers. I do DC covers every week when they come out. New Comic Book Day on Wednesdays. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, For Your Geek.
Yep.
The website, J Free the Geek. What else we got? jfreethegeek.com because you got to add the .com. It's not a.
I think that's it. I
That's
think we're
about
good.
it. And KB always does the catchphrase.
Start your weekend with your geek friends.
I didn't prompt you yet.
Hey, I'm
You're just
ahead
going-
of you.
okay, well,
you're
let's-
slow to the punch, man.
let's go this.
Wait, don't we want to promote one more time?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Let's finish strong because first one was strong. The middle one, when I prompted you guys were a little bit behind the 8 ball. Third one, you did great. So one last time for those that are just joining us, Pachico's Furniture, Unique Customs, Phoenix Marketing, and 59 Media, pooling their resources together. And anyone that shares this video, shares this podcast, or any other podcast under the 59 Media umbrella will be entered to win a free Xbox One
S.
Yes. Again, courtesy of all our fine sponsors. And the drawing will be held this Tuesday on the Whatever Bro podcast. So be sure to share, be sure to comment, like the pages. KB, now if you want, hit him with the catchphrases.
Nah, you can do it.
No, I got something for you.
Go for it.
You will share this podcast.
There you go.
You will be entered to win an
It
Xbox
is the
One
podcast
S.
you're looking for.
I like
He
it.
already hit that. You got to read the comments, bro. Do you want to do the catchphrase? It's really easy. You say start your weekend.
I know. I've listened to the podcast plenty of times. Start the weekend with your geek friends.
And get your geek on.
Goodbye, folks. Share this podcast.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.